Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers Week 11 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some different variations in terms of various data points. However, there's always going to be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you are new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So starting with this matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When you look at the NFL stat basic comparison data, and basic comparison data essentially is looking at how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and of course how the special teams is doing. And when you look at this data, it pretty much favors the Buccaneers. On offense, there's a couple areas where the Dolphins are favored, and we're going to start there. So the Dolphins have the better turnover ratio, so they don't turn the football over as much as the Buccaneers do. The Dolphins also have a better sack percentage, meaning that they prevent sacks more often. But the big thing that really helps the Buccaneers out is offensive score percentage. The Dolphins this year have been one of the worst offenses in terms of the ability to put points on the board consistently each week. Right now they're a 7.87 out of 100, and that's out of every single football team since the 1998 NFL season. That's how poor the Dolphins offense has been. And then defensively speaking, it's pretty even. Both the Dolphins and the Bucs, even in terms of their defenses. The Bucs have a better turnover ratio though and better interception percentage, whereas the Dolphins have a better sack percentage. But both of these teams are not that great in terms of creating turnovers. Both of these teams are not that good when it comes to getting sacks. So ultimately, defense is really not going to be the biggest driver of this game. It's really going to be who puts up more points, which is why the Packers are favored here. Oh, not Packers, but Bucs. Now, when you get to the special teams data, so looking at punt return yardage, for example, the Buccaneers are favored here in terms of punt return yardage. The Dolphins are favored in terms of kick return yardage. Defensive punt return yardage more so favors the Buccaneers. Defensive kick return yardage favors the Dolphins. Field goal percentage favors the Dolphins. Extra point percentage is pretty even. And then, of course, punting average, which favors the Dolphins. But again, the overall data favors the Buccaneers. So that's the basic sort of gist of most of this data. Now, when you get to the other data points, so looking at completion percentage data between the Dolphins offense and the Buccaneers defense, when you look at this particular data point, the Dolphins are favored here in terms of second and third down respectfully. Then, of course, you get to the Buccaneers offense versus the Dolphins defense in terms of completion percentage. And in this particular area, the Bucs are favored here in terms of first and third down. Then you get to the Dolphins offense versus the Buccaneers defense in terms of rushing down. So the ability to get first downs with the run, essentially, or prevent first downs with the run compared to other teams. And based on this data, the Buccaneers are favored in terms of the rushing defense. The Buccaneers have a fairly decent rushing defense. This has been kind of a common theme for them. Then, of course, you get to the Buccaneers offense versus the Dolphins rushing defense. And in this particular area, the Dolphins are favored in terms of second and third down, respectively, in terms of the rushing defense. Then you get to passing downs. Dolphins offense versus Bucs defense when it comes to the pass. And in this way, I would say it's fairly even. If you look at first down, the Bucs have the advantage. You look at third down, the Dolphins have the advantage. And then when you look at second down, it's pretty dang even in that respect. So I would say this is a pretty even matchup between the Dolphins offense and the Buccaneers defense on paper. Then when you get to the Bucs offense versus the Dolphins defense, the Bucs are favored here in terms of first, second, and third down respectfully. Then you get to sack rate, Dolphins offense versus Bucs defense, and the Dolphins are favored here. in terms of this. And this is more so just because the Buccaneers just don't get a lot of sacks. So I wouldn't necessarily say the Dolphins are amazing in terms of preventing sacks, but they're better than the Bucs have been in terms of generating sacks. Then you get to the Bucs offense versus the Dolphins defense in terms of sacks, and the Dolphins are favored here in terms of second and third down, respectfully. Then you get to interception ratio. Dolphins offense versus Bucs defense in this particular area. The Bucs are favored in terms of first and second down, respectfully. And then lastly, you get to the Bucs offense versus the Dolphins defense in terms of interception ratio. And in this particular area, I would say it's pretty evenly matched. The Dolphins definitely have an advantage on first down. Third down more so is with the Bucs, and then second down is more even between both of these teams. So ultimately, what my general thoughts are on this matchup, I really don't know who to pick, to be honest. I think that, again, the overall data does favor the Bucs. They just have a better offense. Now, their offense isn't amazing. The biggest issue with the Buccaneers' offense is the turnovers. It's those kind of things. If they could cut down on the turnovers, I think they'd win more football games because they are able to put points on the board. Now, they're not amazing at it, but that's like a strength of theirs. Like, that's something that they actually do sort of well. Whereas the Dolphins don't even do that well in terms of those particular areas. So, this is just a tough matchup to say. Either one of these teams could play, but the one key I would say is this. If Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers have a ton of turnovers, interceptions, all that kind of stuff, then I think the Dolphins win this game. If Jameis Winston doesn't have a lot of turnovers and he just goes up and down the field in terms of the offense and doesn't have too many mistakes, then I think the Buccaneers win. So that's kind of how I feel about this particular game. The overall data favors the Bucs, but I'm a little wishy-washy in terms of who will actually win because it is pretty tight between both these teams. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.